So I'm finding like the older I get, the more I think about like the temporary nature of things. Like I'm about to turn 51, and you know, I just think like I don't know how much time I have left, and like do I have time to accomplish all the things that I want to accomplish? And I feel like I do, but I mean obviously nobody knows how much time you have. Like I could have easily not have made it this far, so who knows? But like let's just say I do have more a good amount more time. I feel like I can accomplish all my goals, but at the same time, like this sort of temporary nature of things, the more I think about it, and I try to think about it on a positive way and not like fucking whatever the term is, like doom and gloom kind of thing. But like the idea that everything is temporary, it's a powerful thing when you utilize it, a certain way. It kind of makes you very grateful for the time that you do have. And I have some examples. I mean, like for my own personal goals, like I started the graffiti company Machine Studio in 2015, so it's like 10 years has already gone by. And of course you can always look back on things in retrospect, and I'm like, man, if I knew what I knew now back then, like how much further along would I be? Like I didn't know anything about marketing or selling products. Like I had a business before that, but it was a service business, and that's a different thing when you're delivering digital services. It's like there's a lot of logistics that are just way different. And so when I think like now I have this knowledge, and I know what I need to do and all that kind of stuff, so like obviously things will go faster. Kind of losing my train of thought already, but I'll go back to some examples of like things being temporary. So like if anybody had gone to the old Pedro location, you'd know that I had a lot of dogs. Like I had 5 dogs when I was there. So anytime anybody would come in, maybe not the last year because I wasn't there as much, but before that, like I actually lived in the back, and like I lived there with my dogs. So when people would come in, like all the dogs would freak out, and I had 5 of them. So it was kind of pretty loud. And now out of those 5, only 2 are still here. And so the 2 that are here, one of them is still really young because somebody found her while I was at the Pedro shop, and they said she was really young at the time. So she's only a few years old, and she's a small dog. So it's highly likely that she's going to be around for quite a while. But the other dog, she just turned 14. So like, losing those other ones, the other 3 dogs, Hooper, Herbie, and Shorty, it's made me appreciate the time that I have. Excuse me, the time that I have with her. Hopefully she has a good amount more time because she's a small dog, but you really never know. So like every day I look at her and I think like, this is, I don't know, I don't want it to sound bad, but I'm like, she's not going to be here forever. So like, it really makes me like urgent about making sure that the time that I have with her is good, so like I try to remind myself to play with her and all these kind of things. And like, and also, being urgent about the idea that you only have these things for a certain amount of time makes you take care of them more, so like I have this feeling that like if you are like conscious of the idea that like I only have this for a certain amount of time, I feel like you're going to take care of that better than you would if you thought that you had forever. It's sort of like, and I was kind of thinking about that on all these levels. So like this dog, for example, like I know that she's not going to be here forever as much as I would want her to. So like I'm more urgent about making sure she has all the things that she needs. Not that I love dogs, so not that I wouldn't do that anyway, but it's like an example is like I was petting her belly, and like I felt almost like a lump, like, and this probably isn't even a good thing, but I took her to the vet, and I was like, I was like, she's got a lump on her stomach. Can you just look at it and make sure it's not something serious? And like, they couldn't even find it. So they called me back, and like, it was the funniest. I wish I had gotten a video, because she's kind of feisty. So like, there was two vet techs kind of like holding her, so her belly was up, and she had this little muzzle on, you know. And she's just looking at me like, what the fuck is going on here? And they were like, can you show me what you're seeing? And I was like, I was just pinching this little, I was like, what is this? And they're like, that's just fat, you know. But you know, so maybe that's not maybe that's not the best thing, but maybe it is. I don't really know, because you know, two of the other dogs that passed away, they both had lumps, and that contributed to them passing. So but then if you think about it, like in relationships too, like you know, you never know like what's going to happen in a relationship. So like for me, I think like like I feel like I'm in this relationship forever. I mean, obviously it's not completely up to me, but I'm personally not going anywhere, and she doesn't seem to be too keen on going anywhere either. But you know, this sort of thought process for me, it makes me not, I don't know, I kind of hate cliches, but it makes me not sweat the small stuff. And we have like a really good relationship. We don't fight or anything like that. But like the old me would have been annoyed by things that the current me is not annoyed by. And I think it's partially because I've sort of experienced the temporary nature of everything, you know, from loved ones to relationships to all these kinds of things. So like the fact that, I don't know, I don't want to say anything that sounds wrong, because like, you know, I don't want it to sound like I'm annoyed by anything that she does, because that's not the case. But like the way I used to be, I used to overthink things a lot, and I would probably put meaning onto things in the wrong way, and so it would upset me, and I think I ruin relationships by being like that. You know, just being sort of unpleasant to be around, because I was kind of easy to get put it. I was pretty susceptible to being in a bad mood, and it was because I think I was overthinking things. And so now, every now and then, something happens where like I feel like I start to overthink things, and then I think like that's not even important to think about, like, and just sort of, you know, I just sort of brush past it. And I don't even know if that's really related, like the temporary idea of things, but I think it kind of is, because like back to the original thing, it's like you just don't know how much time you have. Like you don't know, you know, like every now and then when I get pissed at one of my dogs for doing something, like I'll be mad at them for like a very brief period of time, and then I'm like, man, if something happens and this is the last interaction that I have, like that's gonna suck forever. So like I immediately like just be like, all right, whatever, you know, so what, you took a shit on my carpet or whatever, you know. And I try to snap out of it. Sometimes it's harder, you know, sometimes I stay pissed off for a long time, but the idea of like the temporary nature of everything, it just really makes me appreciate everything that I have a lot more, and the time that I have, you know. And so I have a great deal of things that I would like to accomplish, and I would like to be further along than I am, but it's sort of like, look, I still have the time that I have, so it makes me feel a little more urgent about it. And I guess sort of the problem is like, and what I'm trying to figure out, and partially, you know, talking this out is another sort of trying to help myself feel that urgency, because it's easy to waste time, and especially nowadays, like with all the distractions of all the shit that's on the phone and social media, and everybody has access to you, and well, if you let them, you know, people can call you and text you and send you DMs and all these kind of things. And then I saw a meme video where this guy was like, he was standing there looking at his phone laughing, and the text said like, something like, I was supposed to call this guy an ambulance, but when I opened it up, Instagram was on the phone, and I just started scrolling, and there's a guy like injured next to him. And I was like, fuck, like, I mean, obviously not at that extreme, but I do that all the time where I'll be like, oh, I gotta, send so-and-so a message, or I have to, pay a bill or whatever it is. And I pick up my phone and I unlock it and it's on Instagram, and then I just start looking at shit. And I'm like, fuck, what was I gonna do? I don't even know what I was gonna do. And so, like, the level of distraction is so high that it's so easy to waste time. And so I'm trying to get myself to think of this urgency, like when I was a full-time designer running Machine, when it was a motion graphics company, if I was given a deadline, let's say it was 2 weeks out, they want to have the first look at a motion graphics job. I have 2 weeks to do it. I'm definitely not spending the whole 2 weeks. 100%. And I'm definitely not going to start it until like at the most like 3 days before they're due, and most likely they were either started the day before they were due or the day they were due. Like, I'd get up a little earlier and just crank it out. And the reason, well, I don't know, that's like a normal thing in the design world, is to procrastinate. When you're given a deadline, you procrastinate all the way to the end until you have just enough time to get it done. It's like very common. But like, I'm trying to incorporate that sense of urgency that you have when you procrastinate all the way to the last minute. That urgency that you have right then when you start. Like, how do you apply that to every day? You know what I mean? I think it would be an interesting thing to be able to do to a certain extent, because it's kind of stressful. So you don't want to like completely live your life like that. But there's something about urgency that really snaps you into the zone, like the flow state. If you're familiar with the flow state, it's like, it's very difficult to get into the flow state when you have a deadline if you start really early. For me and for a lot of people. Like, if I have 2 weeks to get something done, if I started the day I heard that and I'm like, I got 2 weeks, I'm going to start today, I would not feel any sense of urgency at all, and I don't think I would really easily be able to get into a flow state. But when I'm doing it the day before or the day of, and I'm like, I just have to get this done, or I'm going to piss off my client, and I don't miss deadlines, so there's just a certain kind of magic that happens in that time when things are just very, very urgent. So I'm trying to figure out how to sort of harness that energy into sort of every day. So when I wake up in the morning and I have my power list and I have all these things I need to do, and one of those things, today was to do a workout. But I didn't feel any urgency at all. Like, I was like, I don't have to be at the shop until later this afternoon. So, like, I'll get the workout done at some point. But eventually I talked myself into doing it. And then I have other items on my power list, and it's 5 o'clock right now, and this is one of them. And I have some other things I need to finish, and then I have some shit I have to get to at night. So now I'm feeling the urgency to get all these tasks done. So how do you do that when there isn't a deadline? That's, maybe if you're watching this on YouTube and you watched all the way to this point, I would love to hear your feedback. Are you able to get this sense of urgency, especially for young people? Like, if you feel like you have all the time in the world, but as we know, like, you don't know that. Like when I started this podcast with Cub, I did not think that I would be doing these solo. Like, he was a super healthy guy. He was super positive. Like, I didn't think he would be gone right now. But here we are, Like, we only got, I don't know, 9 months with him on this show. So I wish I had that urgency, because we could have got a lot more episodes out. So I'm trying to figure out how to incorporate that. So I'm gonna work on it and try to figure it out, and then maybe I'll record another one. But if you want to leave me some feedback, you know, go on the YouTube channel, Bus MSK, and leave a comment on this video, or you can always send me an email, bus@machinestudio, or DM me on Instagram at bus166. I'd love to hear from you, and I hope this was helpful. I'll see you next time. All right.
Appreciate each and every one of you guys who are supporting the cause and continue to spread the love. And yeah, stay up.